So speaking of Israel, I was just wondering, given like your like involvement within Christianity, do you ever feel like ridicule when you express your involvement in Israel as a Christian? And if so, how do you respond? And what about Israel like drew you in? Like, why did you have that childhood dream of going into the Dead Sea? Was it purely because of your
The Bible or maybe
or
something
like your love
deeper?
for science and
Yes to all of that.
uh and are there any other places in the world that provide a similar effect?
Okay, the Israel draw for me is very spiritual, but and it is the most unique country in the world by far. I like, um, even though I guess you're probably enjoying my accent. I sound very country, southern, hillbilly-ish. I tell everybody I speak southern redneck Hebrew. Uh, my Israeli
Shalom.
friends absolutely love that. But anyhow, I I like the very much the intellect and and Israel and especially Jewish people who like to talk like you guys. I like the intellect. This is I was so impressed when you contacted me and so excited. And I told Miss Mom, I said, I'm impressed with even the email I got, how well you put that together and what you guys are doing is, and your openness to explore other things is really refreshing. So to answer your question on, yeah, Israel draws me like crazy. If it was so if I could get away from my business and my church for, for 6, 7 months, I'd probably go live in Israel for 6, 7 months. I usually try to stay 3 weeks to a month at a time when I go. I don't just take people. I have plenty of friends, and I like to go live there because when you stay like that, you really learn the people and the culture, and you make good friends, and you understand things, and you're off from the limelight and the show and the money, racket and all that. And we have really good trips. Don't get me wrong, but I get out in the with friends of mine. We go to Arab villages to eat. We meet everybody, and I have good friends who are Arabs over there too. Um, it's amazing. So yeah, that's the spiritual draw for me, a physical draw also. But the other place is yes, Walker is Scottish, and
Oh,
yeah, so probably the two greatest influences of ancient cultures are the Israelis by far
and the
for how
Loch
they've
Ness
impacted the
monster.
world, but the Scots. You know about Hadrian's Wall, right?
Yeah, like of
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah, the even the great Roman Empire could not defeat these people.
They
And
even told like stories of them. They had like I know they had also for the Britons, but they also like told how it was like a magical place. They were all tough as nails and everything. It was
Yeah.
very
yeah, let me see if I can find this right here, right quick. A friend of mine sent me met one day, and he sent me this little meme and or a little saying on the cell phone, and I'm like, that sounds like my family motto. So see if I can get back to this right quick. You'll really like it. But yeah, Scotland. I actually give you a little background. I've been wanting to go to the Scottish Highland Games for decades, but and I wanted to take my three sons, but there was always football and baseball and basketball and so busy with them, I didn't get to go. So finally, I run into a friend of mine, and we're going to our first Highland Games. I bought my first kilt. I am ready to roll.
Is it? Do you know how to play bagpipe? The bagpipes?
No, I would love to, but I didn't realize they were so expensive and hard to learn to play.
yeah. It's a very difficult
But I did
all the
start
pipes.
playing the
Oh
guitar
yeah, I was.
I started playing guitar when I was 50 though, so been trying to learn some Scottish songs here lately. But here it is. I am a Scot. I do not need your approval, your opinion, your attitude, or even your notice of me. I do, however, need you to step aside and get out of my way. Great things are in my immediate future. Watch me do exactly what you said I could not.
Wow. Can you send
Yeah.
that? Can you send that to me? I want to make that the thumbnail of this video.
Yeah, that's good.
So I mean, if you think about it, it's like it's real Jewish Israeli too. I mean, no people on in planet Earth have been more abused than Israelis. You know, are Jewish people, and it's like, you know, you guys are just tough. I mean, it's kind of like the Scots, and you know, and if you'll find about this, true Christians have always loved Israel. Those that come under the demise of Christianity and that have really went against has give a black eye and has tried to put the two opposing, and it's been exploited by both sides that on the negative end. But you think about it, every time that real believers and real Israelis, so to speak, or Jewish people are abused, they just thrive. I don't know why. Every time, if you look through history, if they're really under persecution, they end up thriving. I mean, look, because of the Holocaust, you have a country, an entirely Jewish state now, with an ancient language that is the only time in the history of the earth that has come back to life. This is a miracle. I mean, where are the Hittites, the Gittites, the Philistines, all them gone? And you know that the ancient language of the Scots is still being spoke by those who are trying, you know, to keep it alive.
Yeah, and like although
Gaelic, right?
fictional. Sorry, I was what?
Yeah,
Gaelic, right? Is that the
Gaelic. Yeah,
yeah?
Yeah, and like I know like it's fictional, but I remember when we read Macbeth, Oz, it's based in
Yeah.
Scotland, and even though Macbeth like becomes that king of Scotland through like obviously heinous ways that are not
yeah,
necessarily legal, he eventually gets overthrown, and the army of Scotland, the people of Scotland, end up taking their country back, tough as nails.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie? It's called it's I think it's called The Eagle, and it's about this Roman officer. You saw it, Oz? And anyhow,
Maybe.
yeah, that's pretty. It's a kind of a you kind of pull for the Romans on that one, and then if you go to Braveheart, you know you're
Yeah.
pulling for that. So Braveheart and Rob Roy, two good movies
Uh,
to
alright.
see.
Is that
So
the one with forget it, it's like Will, I think his name is.
Rob Roy is Liam Neeson, and Mel Gibson is in Braveheart.
Mm, yeah. Like going back to Israel, do you ever face like ridicule when you like express your like involvement in Israel like as a Christian? Ridicule from
Yeah.
either like Christians or Jewish people, like where like no matter where, like do you just like face like criticism for supporting it, even though like it's usually not correlated to like
Right. I'm gonna
yeah.
turn over here because there's sunlight coming in. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes, but the thing I found with being a pastor too, um, you do your homework, and it's kind of like a guy told my son one time playing baseball. Said, if you want to play, you got to make them look stupid. So you can be kind about it, but if you know your stuff, I mean, if you're well studied, you know your stuff, then you have answers. And it's not that you're explaining anything, is that you know you got the facts. And no country on earth has touched the world like Israel. Take the people that hate Israel the most. What major hospital they have? What major
That's
scientific discovery have they made?
Yeah.
What humanitarian group do they have? Do you know who shows up as much as the Americans do in a natural catastrophe? In
Israelis.
Israel.
Tibet and Nepal, two
Oh,
earthquakes.
wow.
Who's there? The Israelis. Who showed up in South Florida when the building fell down? The Israelis. When Haiti was just about rolled off into the sea, Israelis. The Americans and the Israelis. And as Bibi said, America's like the new promised land.
Bibi Netanyahu, yeah.
Yeah. And so, what I was trying to think the other day, and I actually done in Hebrew in a speech one time to the Israeli Parliament in South Florida. What is it? I was trying to find it the other day that we thank God that we're here at this place and this time. Are y'all familiar with that Hebrew saying?
No, yeah, no, it reminds me of something. I know there's a name to it. I can't remember it right now, but yeah, it's like a common theme and a common saying.
Yeah, I think it's got Higanu in it, maybe. But anyhow, the first time I said that, we were doing a night to honor Israel in the big church there in South Florida, and I was like, well, they started quoting it with me, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, I made a lot of good friends who have helped me over the years, like the guy that I call my Israeli father. He actually was in the Mossad in the '60s. I know a guy who's gotten the highest national award from Israel twice, and then he set me up with some people over in Israel, and I actually got to spend a day with some very interesting people. One of them was Youth Bet, the general of the Central Haru for 30 years. And my journey is a miracle. There's no way I could have tried or planned this on my own or anything for me. I mean, God worked this out for me, and it's amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Great to hear.
I can write my life just in the last 20 years, and it's jaw dropping.
That's cool. And just to Oz, do you have any questions?
No, not that I can think of.
Um,
But you did a very good job explaining
yeah,
everything thoroughly.
thank you. Yeah, and just one more question to leave off, for ourselves, like me, Oz, and our viewers who I guess before this we have not had a non-Jewish video, so I assume a good portion of our viewers are Jewish, especially because I think we have 20% of our viewers from Israel.
Yeah.
So yeah, for those and a lot of others who are Jewish or just not Christian and want to still just understand more in depth different faiths and spirituality outside of the Old Testament, where do you recommend starting? I know we had talked about the New Testament, but do I just open up the New Testament book and just read? What do I do if I just want to get a nice feel out for a taster, so to speak, for
Okay, so are you guys familiar with the Secret Service?
the Secret Service? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so why and when was it started?
The
I think it was
CIA, I
after-
remember.
I think it was after Lincoln's death, or either Lincoln or McKinley. One of them.
You're exactly right. Lincoln started it because there was so much counterfeit money. It was about to destroy the whole republic. And see, most people think of the Secret Service to protect the president. That's just a very small thing they do. And if you walk up to somebody that's in counterfeiting in the Secret Service, you would ask them, say, I bet you study a lot of counterfeit money. I bet you that's amazing how much counterfeit. He said, no, we study the real thing. That way we know a counterfeit when it comes along. So to answer your question, if you just start and read the New Testament first and then do some research after that. And just remember that the Bible's written like a contract. What is a contract? It's a covenant. A covenant is a contract with the greater dictating to the lesser what the terms and conditions are. So, being that said, if you read the Authorized Version, always remember that you is singular or plural. Ye is always singular, and thee and thou is plural, and that'll help explain some of the older words.
Yeah. And do you just recommend directly just opening the New Testament, or is there
just start right at the very beginning there in Matthew and just take off reading? You'll find it interesting. Right from the beginning, you're going to go, okay, we're getting some Jewish genealogy right here.
Oh yeah, it was sort of building off of that too. So between the Old and New Testament, if I'm reading it from old and then I'm just continuing reading and then suddenly I reach new, does that piece things together more than if I just were to start at the beginning of the New Testament and read onwards, or is it the same experience?
Well, I'm sure you guys know this. Eastern thinking is not linear like Greeks or Westerners do. So you just kind of have to read it and take it in. Eastern thinking and the way the Bible is more circular, you have an idea and it branches off everywhere. And the New Testament do that. It's not really a chronological order. The first four books are different different views of Jesus. In other words, same diamond, but four different facets on the diamond,
Uh-huh.
if that makes sense. And that's one thing we know the authenticity of the Bible is because if you take four people in a crime scene and you separate them, they're going to have the same theme. But they view it in four different ways. You ever been in an auto accident? What the police do first? They separate everybody
And
and
then
they
I
ask
hear all the
everybody what's
different
going on.
stories. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of crime scene evidence on that. But yeah, it just that first, and then you got resources like me. You can ask a few questions or whatever. But I'll tell you how strongly I view the Jewish people and Israel, and they know this very well. And I spoke to the parliament. Is that here's my statement: I would love you even if you didn't like me. That's how strong I feel about the Jewish state, Israel, Israelis, you guys. I mean, I'm just drawn to that. That's the way God says it's supposed to be, and I feel that in my heart very, very deeply. Um, as you know, you can be put at arm's length in the Jewish community till they realize that they can trust you and you actually do love them. Because I mean, you come with that stigmatism. That's the reason the Scots and the Scott Irish that settled this area pretty strong back in early days. If a government shows up and says, "We're here to help," and they go, "Oh, no, you're not. Get down the road." We don't want any part of your help. And it's because the English had abused them so bad for so many years. We don't trust the government that well. And it can be that way a lot with Israelis, but once they understand that you really do love them, you really do care, and you want to be a part of their lives and friendships, I actually was very shocked. The Israeli parliament, right about a month before COVID broke out, I went down and they asked me to explain Christianity, the different denominations, um, aspects of it, and everything, and it lasted a
That's
long
really
time.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I thought, well, sometimes that gets a huge rejection, and I thought, I've got to do what I got to do, even if these people don't like me anymore, and they didn't want to go home. And I mean, it's Shabbat too. It's Shabbat,
Yeah.
and there were questions and all kinds of stuff, and a lot of them were really good friends of mine too that I've grown to really love and appreciate. But when you've got a large diverse crowd here, and the vast majority of Jewish people are either atheist or agnostic. They, yeah, we go to synagogue, yeah, we do Passover, but are we really committed to the whole belief system or not? Are we keeping the law or whatever? And it's like everybody else. Most people are nominal on what they believe, and they don't believe it to their core.
uh,
Yeah.